What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Recover Out Loud, episode number 56, brought to you by the Antisocial Network. Today, we got a pretty awesome guest, pretty storied guest, and I'm really excited to have her, Kaitlyn Lemus Portillo. How you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being on. Thank you for being on. I kind of put a shot out in the dark, and Kaitlyn was like, "Hey, here's part of my story. You guys are gonna hear it." And I'm like, "Yeah, fuck yeah, we need her on the show."
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. So, Caitlin, would you like to give a formal introduction of yourself?
Yeah, it's awesome. Thank you again. I'm humbled, very grateful to be here. My name's Kaitlyn Lemus Portillo, and my husband is retired military. We work together, and I kind of spearheaded a consulting company called KLP Marketing or KLP Consulting Firm. And I kind of got my start in the music entertainment industry when I was really young. And it evolved over time into what we're doing now, still being creative, still getting to do what I love. And there's quite a story there. It's been a journey. It's been a journey, a great journey.
Absolutely. I think, you know, I don't think that we get to hear from people who have had a little taste of celebrity too much about like what they've been through and like some of the struggles that they've been through. So I want to first off say thank you for volunteering your time to share your story with me and with us. Uh,
Absolutely.
because I think that's very important. And secondly, I want to say thank you for everything that you have done before we hit record. Caitlin and I were talking about some of the things that she's done for her husband, and I want to take a moment and say thank you for everything that you've done for your husband and how you support him.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, I have to thank him, for his service, really, and you as well. And we all should be thanking everyone for their service, and between the military and the first responders and the medical professionals that are like keeping us, going.
Absolutely, I agree 100%, and thank you for your support. I do appreciate it. Uh,
Absolutely.
so tell us where you're at, where you're at, and some things about the area that you're
Yeah.
at.
So right now, what we're doing is we're building, these live events and these retreats, and I'm really taking that to the next level. I also have a mastermind, and we have good amount of people in the mastermind, and it's intense, and I mean that in a good way. Like, just helping people with their businesses and what they're going through is like not always a walk in the park. And this is not a podcast for like rainbows and butterflies and sparkly shit. So it's
No.
us helping people get through their shit and also market their business. And we used to just be an agency, and a lot of people like couldn't take full advantage of marketing because they just weren't there yet, and they needed like other things like mentors and coaches and workshops and things like that, and time to work through things one-on-one. And the reason I pressed that so hard in the end was because I knew mentorship was really big for me over these years, whether it was in the music industry or my contracting company that I started, and ran and did, all these different things I've done. I always had mentors, several different mentors, frankly. And I was like, I can just go after the people who have money and do their marketing. You can do that. Or you can offer a solution to entrepreneurs and keep them from making tons and tons of mistakes and spending too much money here or too much money there or too much money wherever, right? Like all these things,
Mhm.
and you could do that. And so I was like, I want to do that. I want to help these people do that, and I want to run these events. And it took a while to kind of get to where I had the right fit, and I guess I'll kind of take that with, I've always been somebody that wanted to, if I was going to do it the right way, right?
Yeah.
And the only time I ever had people feel I wasn't being right to them or something is honestly because I never should have been dealing with them in the first place. Okay.
Yeah.
I always want to help the entrepreneur, help the professional, prevent them. Sometimes you got to let them make mistakes, but preventing them from making massive, life-changing, insane mistakes, that's a pretty good move to do for people. And, in conclusion, and this is something that I talk about right now, within my team, live events have changed my life over the course of time, right?
Yeah.
And not all live events are some culty, weird fucking thing, you know?
Yeah.
There's live events that you go to and they change the trajectory of your life and your business and your mind and they help you pivot for 3 to 6 months straight. Then you go to another live event and that helps you stay going. Like there's nothing wrong with feeling that frequency, that energy, that like bro, whatever. Like there,
Yeah.
somebody made a post this morning on Facebook and I loved it. She was like, I went to this bro thing and a lot of people kind of thought it was stupid, but dude, I'm jazzed. I'm freaking pumped. I'm going to be set for the next 3 to 6 months on this fuel that I have, like energetically, spiritually, like frequency wise with people and entrepreneurs and creatives, passionates like me. And it's like, I want to continue to provide that for people and continue to perfect their experiences as time goes on. So that's what I'm really in right now is the mastermind and creating events several times a year that really help change people's lives. I'm not saying we're going to solve all your problems, but we're going to help take you from this point to this point, and it's going to help you get to that point. And then when you need to refill your cup up, you're going to come to either ours again or somebody else's who's going to help refill your cup, by
Absolutely.
investing in yourself and investing in your psyche and your mind and your, so it's really cool stuff, man. I'm loving it. There's a few bumps. You can't make everybody happy, but like, that's just business.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that it's paramount to have a mentor or a
Yeah.
coach, somebody on your side that's been there, that's done that, or is currently doing it, that can say, "Hey, look, this is how I did it, and this is what worked for me. It might work for you. Try it, or let's tailor it a little bit and see what works for you." I know for me, I have some mentors in podcasting. I have some mentors in peer
Yes.
support. I have people that I go to and I'm like, hey, how do I improve what I'm doing now? But also it also falls upon that person to be able to receive that constructive criticism, right? Because not everybody can receive constructive criticism without taking it personal.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And the goal is to not bring people like that in to the mastermind, but maybe people like that to the live events, and then they have a little bit of a breaking open.
Yeah.
That's kind of how that happens. Eventually maybe they end up in the mastermind. But yeah, a lot of people start out like that. They can't handle it.
Yeah.
And it's tough. It really is tough. Um, he isn't he doesn't have to do it near as much anymore, but one of my mentors, one of the hardest ones on me, there was a lot of like cognitive dissonance going on when I was younger, okay?
Mhm.
And for those of you who are watching this, I'll put it in layman terms. The right way is the wrong way in your mind, and when you hear it you're like, ew, and you want to crawl out of your fucking skin.
Yeah.
Well, that's cognitive dissonance, people. When someone's telling you it's like Jeff Foxworthy, here's your sign. Like,
Yeah.
this is what it is, and you don't like it, or it feels wrong to you because of something in your past. You have trauma, whatever it is you've been taught or brainwashed into, but this is actually the situation or the fact, right?
Mhm.
And so I went through that a lot when I was younger. And when he would say something, I would listen to it and be like, deep, deep, deep down, he's right, but I want to freaking crawl out of my skin right now. This
Yeah.
feels really uncomfortable, right?
Yeah.
So that's like what a lot of people need, and a lot of people don't want to dig that deep.
Yeah.
And like, I won't go off into that, but that's really what it comes down to. Like, people don't want to dig deep, which therefore you have generations of people who have all these things that are in their nervous system stored there, and then we're just taking medication to treat it, and it's actually not taking care of anything. And so these things continue to pass down and continue to pass down. When if we were doing the deep, deep, deep work and diving into cognitive dissonance and diving into everything we ever thought was correct, and asking ourselves questions, because really, like, that's what it's all about, right? Asking a
Mhm.
lot of questions over a long period of time and listening instead of always thinking and talking, you know? And I say that as I work on that, in my life. I'm still young, I'm
Yeah.
34 years old. I'm learning every day and having to take all of that knowledge from my mentors and spiritual mentors and try to hold it with me and embody that and become that every day, right? Whew,
Absolutely.
that's a lot. It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. You're absolutely right. We are as a society, we're prescribed medication to deal with the symptoms, not with the problem. And that is one of my biggest things is when I started working on myself, starting 3 years ago, I got to that point where I told doctors, I said, don't medicate me because I've been medicated my whole life and I don't know what the fucking problem is.
Right.
Right? I don't know why I'm angry all the goddamn time. But maybe through this journey of not being medicated and not feeling happy all the time,
Right.
not feeling numb all the time, I might be able to get to that point why I feel the
Yeah.
way I do. And I don't take meds, and it's, I mean, some days are better than others, but but
Right.
you get to that point where you start to learn the lessons and learn the whys behind things instead of learning the, well, this is just how the fuck it has to be.
Right. Yeah. And like take that a step further. Really what it is a lot of it was you learned how to deal with things. And when you looked at them or when they happened, you didn't freak the hell out.
Yeah.
And the chemicals and the cortisol didn't spike all the time. And you know what I mean? Like all that wasn't always happening. And listen, I'm in it too, brother. Like I get it. I know. I like especially being like a high, functioning person, and being kind of sort of one of the more masculine women bro people, like I get it. I know. And I have to like always you know what I do now? I have two different mentors that always say this, and now I say it back to them when I'm like actively doing it. I'm like, I'm not excited at all, though. Whatever happens, happens. If
Yep.
something really big is maybe about to happen in our careers, or somebody's offering us something, or somebody presented us with something, when I call them, I'll be like, so blank, blank, blank happened, but I'm not excited at all, man, because whatever happens, happens. And sometimes he'll be like, good, don't be excited. You don't be excited. You be humbled and grateful if something happens to occur, and it will occur if it's supposed to occur. And that's a lesson. That's a lesson in and of itself, because what happens is, and like I think this is actually a really great point. That's why I want to bring it up. You remember, you see people on the internet when you're scrolling and they're like, can't wait for the concert to see, can't wait to see blank blank in concert. Tonight's going to be a life-changing night.
Yep.
Really? Is it? A concert's going to constitute a life-changing night for you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, listen, first off, that's sad. Second of all, let's talk about it. Okay. We need to talk about what's going to actually make you happy, because that should not be making you that happy and changing your life. There's probably many other things that have occurred over the past several years that should have inspired you to change your life. And I don't think this concert is one of them.
Right.
But a lot of people live like that. That's how like we're living. And you got to go deeper. You got to go deeper, um perfect example as well. If I'm like headbutting with a client, I immediately go, is this me, or are they being difficult? Is it a trigger in me? Is this something I need to look at? And then we figure out, or is it both of us?
Yeah.
Okay. And just different things like that. You got to go deeper. Okay. And a lot of times people don't want to do that.
Yeah.
It's not always pretty.
Oh no. Very rarely is it pretty when you deep dive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely. Absolutely. And live events, I have been to a few. I work with the National Association of Drug Court Professionals,
okay.
specifically with veterans. And I went to my first live conference last year. Good God, I left there and I was like, I can change the world,
Bro,
but I
exactly.
did. I didn't change the world. I can only change myself,
Right.
right?
Right.
So that's what I had to grab, and
Yeah.
but that helped me with some of the tools and the skills that I have now. And I wanted to go this year. Funding won't allow me to, but that's okay because I got this. I
Right.
got my
Exactly.
podcast to keep me
Exactly.
going. Yeah, but all right. So, anyways, let's go dive into it. Let's talk a little bit about your childhood. This is one of the things that kind of brought that I was like, huh, okay. You're a musician when you were a child, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah, I was. I was running around in diapers pretty young, like figuring out the piano and the guitar and like lyrics, even though I wasn't fully aware of like full sentences yet. But my mom says I was doing a lot at a very young age. And I can remember like making them buy the plastic guitar and mic stand and microphone and forcing my brother to perform with me. Yeah, at a very young age. So it kind of took off pretty quickly. It's kind of a funny story. And I'll give you the short version of it. I like was always a go-getter and always wanted to like change the world, make money, work hard for it. So when I was really young, and I mean really young, and yes, my parents let me do this, my brother and I were like, we want to work. We're going to go work. So we left the house and started knocking on neighbors' doors saying, we'll take out your trash, we'll mow your lawn, we'll scoop your drive when there's snow. And we did this for a couple of years and made money and stuff, right? And then when I was like, there was this lady named June, and she was this sweet old woman, and she had a lot of cats, and I would mow her yard and I would scoop her snow. And she had a husband who, like, back in the day was like a one-man band. His name was Bill. And he would get hired to come to parties and things, I think, like back in the day. And he had died, you know, and she lived alone with her cats. And she was so good to me. She would make me snacks. She would give me paper that had like the staff on it, bass and treble clef and everything, that blank on it, so I could write music. And she had a keyboard in there for me, and she taught me how to crochet. She was just the most amazing woman. And she gets me a little emotional because she passed away. And so she said, my Bill, she always called him my Bill. She said, my Bill used to go to this place, and I think there's a guy with a recording studio. I don't know him, but I need you to find it because you need to record music and you need to be on the radio. You're going to be a star, you know, is what she told me, right? And I, you know, was a very driven child. I would do all the community things, try to make money. And then I would, my dad had 2 farms. Okay. And they had, swine, a lot of swine, which is hogs and pigs. Okay. And at a very young age, at 5 years old, I was helping pour concrete and build the ranch farm. Okay. And like, then my dad would pick me up from school in elementary school, and my brother and I would go work at the farm till 7 p.m. at night. And I like remember having to help deliver pigs, and sometimes they would have them early and they would be in the wrong barn. So you'd have to put a glove on and go deliver the pigs. I was 6 fucking years old. A lot of people like don't know this about me, but like Kate doesn't fucking play. All right. Give me whatever task it is. I'll make it happen. We got to deliver some pigs or deliver some babies. Let's go. And so a lot of people just don't know, because I'm not, as much as I am on the internet, I'm not that personal on the internet, crazy enough, you know? And so anyway, I was doing all that stuff at a very, very young age. I had a lot on my plate, and I was writing songs and learning instruments. At that time, I knew several different instruments. I knew how to read music. I was writing songs, doing chores, working on the ranch and farm with my dad, and trying to keep up good grades because my mom worked at the school. Oh. So if I didn't get good grades, she'd come and pull me from recess. If I didn't, whatever, like, no joke. Like, so again, a lot of people just don't know, you know, how it was growing up. And, so like I was juggling a lot, but I'm not going to say I didn't ask for it. Okay. So I did ask for it, and I was a high achiever and I wanted to do a lot. So I did a lot. And moving forward, at one point, June just convinced me enough that I needed to try to find this recording studio in the midst of all I was doing. And so I did that. So I called up my grandmother. She's like 91 years old. She's the sweetest woman in the world. Amazing. And I called her up and I said, Grandma, I said, somebody says that there's a recording studio near you. And she said, well, I'll call the record store near me. I know the owner. He's there a lot. And we'll see if he knows somebody, who would know more about the music community than a record and equipment music store, right?
Yeah.
So my grandmother calls him, talks to the owner, and the owner says, I think you might be talking about a guy named Stan Furno. And he said, I know a guy named Stan who has a recording studio, and he also gets paid to do karaoke and DJ weddings, events, pretty big stuff around here, the guys know. And so my grandmother calls me back. She gives me the record owner's number and says, hey, call the store. Right. And got to remember, this wasn't back in Google days. I'm 34 years old. Believe it or not, it's far enough away that it wasn't that easy back then. Right. There was phone books still.
Yeah.
And so anyway, she gives me the number and I call the founder of the record store, and he's like, hey, this is so-and-so. I'm like, hi, my grandma called and talked to you, and there's this guy named Stan. She said you're aware of. Can you tell me a little bit about him? And I'm going to need his number as well. And he's like, how old are you? I'm like, I'm 8, sir. I'm 8 years old and I'm going to be a star. I probably didn't say that, but I was like, I'm 8, sir. I'm 8 years old. And he was like, okay, yeah. So I'm going to give you the information, and he gave it to me. So I call Stan myself and he answers. And I love this story so much because, it just is what it is. He was this biker looking, he was bald, he was biker kind of looking guy, and wore, the leather jacket and stuff, and chain smoked cigarettes. And he answered the phone and he's like, hello. And I'm like, hi, is this Stan? And he's like, yeah, this is Stan. And I'm just like, hey, Stan, my name's Kaitlyn. I write music and I think I actually might have a shot. Like, I want to come record at your studio. I heard you have a studio. And he's like, how'd you get my number? And I was just like, the guy at the record store in O'Neill. And he was like, okay, are your parents home? And I was like, no. And he said, how old are you? And I was like, I'm 8. And he's like, okay, kid, and I hear his wife was in the back at the time. She's like, who is that? And he's like, some kid. She wants to be a star, And so he, they tell me to have my parents call them back. And I waited for my dad to get home from work. And I had his number written down and I handed it to him. And I was like, Dad, I really want to do this. And this is my life. I want to do this. I can make it in, the industry. And I think I'm actually really good. I want to write music. Right. And he said, okay. So he went into his office, and his office was this French doors with the glass panes, and he shut the door and don't you dare go in there. So I sat there for God knows how freaking long, waiting for him to come out. And he came out and he was like, we have a recording session on Saturday at 1 p.m. And he was going to shut the door. And he's like, it's fucking 3 hours away, Kaitlyn. And I was like, all right, well, thanks. I love you, And so I was so excited, and we go there, and he's a huge Green Bay Packer fan. When we walk in, it's all over he has a man's den area. It was super cool. And it was all Green Bay Packers and stuff and football. And my dad and I are the biggest Green Bay Packer fans ever. And so I walk in and I'm like, okay, besides the heavy, heavy cigarette smoke, I can do this. Right. So he takes us in the studio. He starts to show me some stuff. I start to do some work. I start to show him some of my originals. He gets them down with his own instruments, and we start to produce original music at 8 years old, And then I start to record a couple, covers as well. But I had a lot of original content, And I was really good with music notes, music theory, instruments, melodies. I played at that point 5 to 7 different instruments. And so the guy was like, holy cow, this lady's really good. This kid's good, right? So we kept working together. I kept singing, performing, working my ass off. And then he was like, I'm going to get you on tour with Willie Nelson. And he did. He got me on tour with Willie Nelson. So I opened as the act for the Farm Aid tour in the Midwest. And that was an amazing experience. I will never forget. There was some other pretty amazing artists on that tour as well. I was really young, it was quite an experience. I was 12 years old, that's a young child. But I was I wasn't really a super regular kid either, so
Yeah.
it is what it is. And then I went to Nashville, and I got discovered pretty quickly. It was pretty interesting how it happened. There's like a famous, infamous bar there called Tootsie's Orchid Lounge.
Yeah.
It's on the main road. On Broadway, on the Strip, they call it. And Tootsie's used to be the back little club door place that Patsy Cline and Waylon
Yep.
Jennings and Willie Nelson and all them played at, because the Ryman was there. The original Ryman or Grand Ole Opry was hooked up to Tootsie's, and that was the back door. And they'd go hang out and sing and play on this little stage, and everybody just mess around, have a good time, And I went to Tootsie's, and they actually let me get on stage.
Nice.
And I started playing originals, which in Tootsie's at the time, back then, you weren't allowed to play originals. You had to play covers, and you had to be entertaining.
Wow.
Well, I got up there, and all these people were like,
I'm here. Sorry.
oh,
Something happened.
And so I got up on stage, and I was like, people were just like, what's going on here? And I started playing originals, and I had my own guitar, and I just got up there and started singing and playing songs. And then I played a few covers, and the guy let me play, I think, like 7 songs. I mean, it was insane. They let me just stand up there, and I got down, and people just went fucking nuts. And I walk outside. My mom walks outside. I needed a breath, and this guy like kind of like starts hobbling, waddling up. He comes out. Tall guy, pretty big guy. And he had like a ponytail, like kind of a rough ponytail.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, where are you guys from? Because you aren't from here,
Yeah.
And my mom was like, we're from the Midwest. And he's like, your kid's really good. What are you going to do about it? And she was like, I don't know. We can't get her to stop. Like, she won't shut up about it. She won't anything. It's just like, it's our fucking life,
Yeah.
And she obviously is really good. And I didn't just want to be like a star. That wasn't it. Some kids want to be a star. That's fine. I don't give a shit. But my deal was I wanted to write songs, express myself, sing some, give away some, get paid for other stars to sing them, have them in TV, movies. I wanted it all. I didn't have to always be the center of attention. I just wanted to do music and be paid to fucking create.
Yeah.
That's it. And I wanted a way out of where I was at,
Yeah.
And so Greg was his name, Greg Humphrey. And he happened to be later on when I was older, you figure out who you're dealing with and stuff. He was essentially Kesha's stepdad. He had been engaged on and off. I don't think they were ever like actually legally married to Kesha's mom, PB. And Kesha and her mom are both like exceptionally talented songwriters. Kesha is way more than just a singer. She's a highly brilliant creator. And so is her mother. Her mother writes in the industry. A lot of people don't know that, but Kesha's mom's actually very highly regarded and respected in the music industry.
Wow.
And so anyway, he already had experience, and was just like a really good stepdad, I think. And he was really good to me. And it was just such a wholesome, like almost father-like music mentor experience with Greg. And everyone loved him. And here's the proof. When he passed away, Greg was inducted into the Nashville Hall of Fame. So you can find him there. Greg Humphrey was his name, and he's responsible for so many celebrities, so many stars. And it's actually really sad because Greg, and people would say this, they would verbalize this all the time. Greg made so many stars' careers, but got fucked by, he would get you to where you needed to go, and then they'd snatch you and kick him out. And he never usually got paid properly or brought on to help manage. And there's so many stars that would have benefited from him. But, and I'll get into that in a little bit, there's a reason they wouldn't want Greg around.
Oh, man.
There's a reason they wouldn't want a good, wholesome, non-creepy guy around, right? But we'll get into that later. Anyway, so Greg passed away, and, God bless him. He was such an amazing person. And he did. He brought me in and got me to other people. And then those people got me to other people. And I can say this, I've had some phenomenal experiences in the industry, and I've had some horrific experiences in the industry. And I never like go deep into it for many reasons. Why would be like, there's no reason to go that deep into it. It is what it is. It's a reality. And what happened is I worked with some great people and who I still care about and, really regard highly to this day. But there are some things that happened that when I was very young that were just not normal, but I thought they were normal,
Yeah.
And so, uh, when you're 12 years old, that's very young. Okay.
Yeah.
And when you're seeing other people be with young people, like, and I'm not somebody that's out for blood or money or names. Like, we're not going to even say names, but it's very normal for like 14, 15, 16-year-old celebrities to low-key be seeing other very much older male celebrities, okay?
Yeah.
Or even female, okay, at this point. So
Yeah.
like, people don't realize that happens. That's not talked about, okay?
Yeah.
In fact, some of your favorite rappers' girlfriends started when they were 14 with them, but the media just forgot to include their age in the pictures, and all the paparazzi, like, that just goes out the window because we don't want anybody to know that this rapper started dating when he was 23 or 25 and she was 14, but she's a celebrity, so it's okay, right? Just weird stuff like that, okay? That stuff's happening and everybody's like not paying attention, or I don't really know what's going on, but it's happening, okay? And it was happening when I was there, and it's still happening now. And I remember even after age, it was past, like, all of this stuff continued to happen throughout, after I was 18 as well, right? That, like, and it just, it's just a whole thing. It's a whole thing, right?
Yeah.
And so I started to say, this is literally what happened. I was like, there's got to be another way to make money and to be creative and to not hate life every day, right?
Yeah.
Than this, okay? And here's the crazy part about all of it. I wasn't that famous. So can you imagine how bad it is and how much control they have over you and the whole situation? Let me tell you something. I would never, ever, 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 ever want to be that. Like, dude, you can make so much money in real estate, consulting, owning, like, doing so many. I got 50 ideas to make you $5 to $20 million a year. And after a couple years of putting in work, you'll make that. And you live the same quality of life they do with that type of money. That's what people don't understand. And that's something that I like to talk about, because everybody's like, I want to be famous. I want to be this. I want to be that. No, you don't. You just want to be fucking rich.
Yeah.
You don't want to be famous. You just want to be able to do what you want to do. There's ways to do that. You don't have to do that. And I think what's so, so, so difficult and sad, and like, this is something that I talk about a lot, with my colleagues, is how do we save all these people that want out? How do you get them out, right? Because there's a lot of girls in the industry that are young or that are my age, and they're like, I don't know anything else. I barely have any other set of skills. I don't know anything about real estate because everything was handled for me. I don't know how to cook. Some people don't know how to cook, celebrity or not. Some people don't know how to cook. There are people that are making money and being controlled. They have no other skill set and they're terrified and they think they can't leave. How do we help these people? How do we help these people? They, and it's not my job to save everybody or anybody, but like, these are real life things. And I think people don't understand what is happening when they just see things on TV and hear things on the radio and on the internet,
Yep.
It's a lot. It's deep.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think society has conditioned us to think that you can't have money outside of being a celebrity, right?
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
that's bullshit. I think that's bullshit. And I think that society has measured success based off of how what your bank account looks like instead of how what you're achieving in your life, right? Because
Yeah.
success looks different for everybody, right? Success looks different for you. It'll look different for fucking Luke Bryan. You'll look different
Mhm.
from me, right? It's not the same. We're not the same across the board, right? And I think that people are so caught up in this idea that I have to be successful, and here are the steps that I have to take to be successful, that their personal success goes out the window, and then they become a fucking robot.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. And what's, eventually they're not going to need any of them anymore because AI is going to handle all of that. But
Yeah, no doubt.
that's a whole nother podcast.
Right, right, absolutely. So,
But yeah,
all right, you're in the music industry. You're getting to that point where you're saying, "Fuck this, I'm done." What was the ultimate like? What was that point that you realized like I'm just done? I don't want to do this no more. I
sure.
need to move on.
Great question. And the universe is the one who actually gave me the push. So my leg shattered into 13 pieces, crumbled
Fuck,
like a cookie.
Jesus.
And I had to be in a wheelchair, and I could have stayed in LA because I lived in LA for a long time. LA is all I knew. Once I was like 12, 13, I was gone. So I grew up my childhood, all my adulthood, living between Nashville and Los Angeles. And I called up my parents, and I called up some of my friends, and I was like, you know, I got sick 2 years ago. I've been doing chemo on the low, and I'm really struggling physically. I have a brand new baby. Well, she wasn't brand new then. I guess she was, yeah, she wasn't brand new then. She was, a year and a half then. I said, maybe it's time to leave LA. And I couldn't believe I was saying it. Like, it was so, and you know, older Kaitlyn looks down to younger Kaitlyn, and I feel the pain that I felt. I remember this. I was in a wheelchair, and I looked at my mom. My mom flew out, and I said, I want to go to Santa Monica one more time. I want to go there one more time, and I want to eat dinner, and I want to look right at my favorite restaurant, and I want to watch the water, and I just want to do it one more time, because I had dedicated my childhood, my teenhood, and my adulthood to that city and to that cause and to the industry and trying to prove myself. And how fucking stupid is that? If you think about it, right? Take the emotion out of it. How stupid is that, right? And I feel so bad for myself that I thought that that's all I could do or that's all I was worth. Now, thankfully, I was a strong, smart person. I dove into real estate immediately, which I'll get into that. But I remember looking out at the ocean and eating dinner, and I had my wheelchair. I was in my wheelchair. I was in that wheelchair for a year almost. I
Mm,
hurt myself badly. And
fuck.
I was a trooper. I learned how to do fucking everything in a wheelchair. Seriously. I knew how to get out to my car, hop on one foot, put the wheelchair in the car, and be able to drive. And my thing was in this special cast. I couldn't do shit with it. There was no anything.
Yeah.
So I learned how to do it, man. So anyway, we left and I went to Nebraska, which I'll be super transparent. As soon as I left Nebraska, I rarely ever touched foot back in that state. Okay. I was like, no, I'm good. Listen, I love Nebraska. It's beautiful. The people are amazing. They're hardworking. They're some of the most honest people I've ever met in my life. But I wouldn't want to live there because my creativity does not breathe there.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's the best way to put it. So when I went there, I was like, I just kept thinking to myself, you know, I was 23 years old at this time, 24. And I'm like, I'm such a failure, you know, from this to being a, you know, a songwriter and singer in TV and film, you know, a gold and platinum record. And now I'm here and my body's failing me and I'm doing chemo and my leg is in 13 pieces and I left everything I've ever known. Every fiber of my being felt like I was supposed to do music, you know?
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, let's figure it out. So I got there in a wheelchair. I had my mom drive with me to the capital city, and I found a like actual campus college that specialized in real estate and brokering. And I became real estate agent, and then did the broker courses and passed all that. Learned hella stuff about real estate, then learned a lot about new builds and new construction, and started to understand construction and flipping and understanding if a home has good bones or not. And if it's got water damage and mold, I probably don't want to touch it ever. And if it's got only wiring and plumbing, we can probably work with that. Like, so anyway, I learned a lot. I learned about pricing. I learned about, you know, all these things. And I then crazy enough, while I had just finished real estate school, I was actually on the steps of the campus when I got this phone call, and it was a Los Angeles number, and I answered it, and she was like, "Hi, this is the lawyer for blank, 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 and I represent my daughter, my child. I represent her dad, and you're gonna have to come back to LA because he wants more access to this child. And by the way, court's on Monday at 8 a.m. And this was a Friday, you know, or a Saturday that I was on the campus. So I called my parents and I was like, I gotta go back to freaking Los Angeles, man. And I was really upset about it. Really, really upset about it. At that point, obviously, I wasn't in the wheelchair anymore. Thank God, I had finally healed and I was done with school, right? So I had to get a really good set of attorneys, you know, and that wasn't going to be cheap in Los Angeles over a custody case. And you know, he wasn't a total moron either, so I knew this wasn't going to be easy, you know.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, what had happened though is I had a hunch that he was maybe molesting the child, right? Our child. And so I never I did everything. I'm not one of those women that like stays even if she has a hunch. No, I'm good. I'm going to leave, you know. We're good. We're going to figure this out, whatever's happening. And he was prior military. He was successful. He, you know, had all these businesses. He was not an idiot, you know. So it was really sad to have that all happen and to learn that he, you know, was sick. And so I have to take a red eye to LA and meet with my new attorneys and start this fight. And the problem was, dude, I just left Hollywood. How am I going to make money?
Yeah.
So I told my family, everyone, nobody really seemed to fully grasp what was happening, I guess. And I said, okay, well, I got to go make copious amounts of money.
All right.
You know, so I flew out and retained my attorneys, met with them, and we came up with a really good game plan. And because of the type of case it was, I had to hire all these forensic psychiatrists and forensic psychologists and all these people that aren't covered by insurance and all these specialists, because, you know, you don't want to accuse somebody of that unless it's actually happening, right? Let's take the emotion out of it. Okay.
Yeah.
I would prefer him to be totally cool and normal. So she, you know what I mean? That would have been great. So, you know, I wasn't the type of like, child's mother who wanted problems because I was mad we weren't together. That was not the issue here, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And so what happened in the end was it started a pretty big battle. And I called my parents and I said, I don't know if you guys understand how much money this is going to cost. It's going to cost a couple $100,000, I think.
Yeah.
And they were like, well, shit, what are you going to do? And in my mind, I was like, y'all have money. What do you mean? Fucking help me out.
Right.
And they did some, but they helped me with Callie and they really helped take care of her, and live a totally normal life.
Yeah.
And so I said, all right, well, I got to go figure some stuff out. So I called up a friend of mine from Nashville and I was like, I think we should go up to Northern California.
Yeah.
And let's, you can do whatever you want to do. I know you have family and stuff up there, but I'm going to go up there because I got to figure some stuff out. Just, hook me up with some people or something because I'm going to start a company.
Mm-hmm.
So eventually I brought out my good friend he's actually here with us at this office still to this day. My good friend of over 30 years. We met when we were 5 years old on the playground in Nebraska. And he came out and my cousin came out and my dad came out and we created a skincare line using CBD and marijuana. And then I also had, relations. I had a boyfriend up there, and I started kind of like a family life and was really supported by his parents and stuff. That they were amazing people. And I was up there for quite a few years, really got myself in there. And I was young. I didn't fully know what I was doing,
Yeah.
and I invested so much money and lost so much money and made so much money and lost so much money. And I was a woman in the marijuana industry. There were times where I would try to do deals and do what we do up there, and I wouldn't get all the money I'm owed. And then I would come back and not have it all for it. It was just, fun times, trying to live the, life. And we kept going strong on our skincare products. All right. And so eventually, it ended with my lover and I, and he's a wonderful person, and I'm sure still doing very well in all his endeavors. And I decided we were going to go to Colorado. I wanted to be more closer to my family. I still only had one child. She was with me. We lived in this beautiful beach home. And I was like, I think we're just going to head to Colorado and we're going to establish the skincare line even more.
Yeah.
Let's get a manufacturing deal and let's get a Colorado manufacturing marijuana license or lease one. And let's take this to the next level. We got some really, really good feedback on all our products. We did some vendoring at places and Reggae on the River, obviously one of the biggest festivals in the world.
Yeah.
We had a vendor at Reggae. People were literally begging for the products. We ran out almost. It was amazing. And so we said, let's do this. It's time to leave California. And we started talking about leaving. And then I had a stroke. And while I was driving, it was crazy. I was at a real estate event. There was people talking about some different things at this establishment. I had, like 2 small glasses of wine over a 4-hour period. I started to feel really weird. And I went in the bathroom. I don't remember anything after that. I guess I left the bathroom and drove and had a stroke. And I woke up in ICU from a coma, actually. Yeah, it was pretty crazy, actually. And I survived it. And it had been all the chemo and all the steroids and all the things I had been taking. I was on a lot of biologics and stuff because of, and I'll just preface this, not that I owe anybody anything, but I didn't take pain pills. I don't know if anybody knows about autoimmune or severe rheumatoid arthritis or bone cancer or bone disease, but pain pills do not help. Steroids and anti-inflammatories are our best friend. Okay.
Yeah.
So Probably they chalked it up to too much. It was like methotrexate toxicity. Methotrexate is a cancer drug,
Hmm.
and they give it to a lot of people who have very severe bone issues. And then mixed with the other things, the prednisone, the steroids, all the other stuff, the injections I was doing for it, it just killed my kidneys. And I had, what they call like a mini stroke. And anyway, I woke up, I lived barely, and I got taken back home to the beach house. My dad was there, and we were like, "Hey, listen, we'll take a few weeks for you to heal, but we got to keep moving forward, you know." And I said, "Okay, we got to keep going forward." And I've always been like that. I was in a wheelchair yet again, like,
Yeah.
and so anyway, we eventually moved part of the team. Some of the workers or staff or our partners came with us to Colorado. Some stayed with my ex and worked with him and stayed partners with him. And we got to Colorado, and it in all it went really well, I guess, in the beginning, as well as it could be for a bunch of young 20-some-year-olds to be handling ridiculous amounts of stuff.
Yeah.
So it was fine. We moved into this beautiful, like 10,000 square foot estate up in the mountains. And we had a lot of staff there, and like my partners and stuff. I always tried to make sure everybody had a nice place to live. Everybody had a car. Everybody had insurance on their car. There was food always in the fridge. I tried to be a good leader, right, and business partner and startup leader, and so what happened was, and this is where I went wrong, but to be honest with you, I don't know if that was the right path anyway. So here's where I went wrong. I contacted my childhood sweetheart that I had known from Nebraska, like my childhood love, the love of my life, who I'd never gotten over and still thought about every day. I called him up and we met pretty quickly after I got to Colorado. And sparks flew, the whole ordeal. We were like, oh my God, it's meant to be, right? And we got married, and we didn't even live together. Number one, his own place, hours away. And he had like a really good job, I won't say where he worked, but it has to do with government and federal stuff. So like he had a great job. He couldn't go where he couldn't leave. So we could only see each other on certain days he had off, or on the weekends and stuff like that, while we were married. And I had a lot going on. I was getting a manufacturing deal at a facility, and I had to come up with another 50 to 100 liquid for us to, start, which that's normal for a manufacturing deal to have to put down your, deposit and stuff like that for things. It's very normal. And so I was having to do that. And we were all like very, I said this in another podcast I did, we all had our like battle scars. I had been hurt. My leg was whatever. Then I've been in a wheelchair again. I had a stroke. Like all of us had put tons of money and years and effort into all of this and experimenting in the recipes and just all the things we were doing to have to make money,
Yeah.
And so when we were in Colorado, like we were all of the partners, we're just like, hey, we got to be really careful how we spend our money,
Yeah.
And so I had a lab, and we had partners that I had paid for them to go get certified or go to school to be extractors, professional extractors. And then we invested in, extraction machines that were ridiculously expensive. And we had the different rooms, we had the whole deal. It was very scientific. They had white coats they wore. There was like a checklist in and out. It was the real deal.
Yeah.
And we were experimenting with it and trying to get extract right, because it's not easy. A lot of people don't know this, but you have to cook it in ovens and you have to experiment, and there's tips and tricks, and a lot of people don't want to give them away.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's a big, big deal. And sometimes people would want $150,000 cash to come in and train your staff, how to do it. And sometimes they'd be a fucking fraud. And other people I had known had gotten taken, for things like that. Yeah, there's a hustle in everything. People don't realize that. You got to really protect yourself. And the bigger the money is, the more that it actually happens. Anyway, so we were, experimenting, trying to do things, trying to make money. It was just, we had a cause, we were doing it. We were also fighting the court case for my daughter back and forth in LA, just tons of money at this point in time. And in the end, my husband at the time started, honestly, I think he was having an affair at the same time. We got married right after. He kept seeing this woman, maybe a couple women, whatever. And in the end, what happened is I got blackmailed by his parents, and they sent me a text wanting I think it was either $12,000 or $25,000. And I started having to pay them it because they said that they were going to call the FBI on my lab and say which licenses I didn't fully have yet, or whatever the hell we were doing, and just stuff like that. And so I was paying them money, and then my ex-husband wanted my dad to pay him money to divorce me. He was blackmailing me to get a divorce. He wouldn't divorce me because he wanted to be paid money, because he knew that we have some money. And so he was like, I want paid. I want 5-10 grand or something to get. And we were just like, dude, are we just going to keep doing this? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're going to keep doing this. What we're doing isn't that bad. What do we do here? At one point in time, I was like, I might just call the cops my fucking self.
Right. Turn myself in so I stop having to do with you.
And if I get a ticket, I get it. I mean, I'm not joking. There were times where I was just like, maybe I should just. But anyway, what happened is, I'm going to preface it with this. I set myself up for failure because I was way too nice for people, and I provided way too much in the beginning. And this is a lesson for people who see this podcast. I was not a bad person. These people did not turn on me because I wasn't taking care of them. They turned on me because I gave them way, way, way too much in the beginning. Way, way too much. I was way too nice to people, handing out the little bit of money that we actually were profiting. All right. I bought, everybody had a vehicle. I bought almost everybody a car. I paid for the insurance. It was a sub-zero refrigerator. If you know what that means, it means they're enormous. And then a sub-zero freezer. This house was a custom made mansion. It was 10,000 square foot. Not out. Okay. And I still got turned on. It's because eventually when you start having boundaries, or things don't go people's way, or they need more money, or whatever it may be, they'll come for you, And so, I quit, it is what it is. I quit asking myself, why would people, do that who love you? Well, they didn't really love you. And while things were good, it was fine. And then when you decided you were, not going to do this anymore. So anyway, here's what happened. One night or one morning, the woman that my husband was having the affair with called the Colorado SWAT and MEP division and whatever, and they came up on the property. I didn't live there anymore. Neither did my child, and neither did a lot of us. There was hardly any furniture left. I had actually decided I was just going to get back into other things, because I wasn't going to wait around for people to finish doing what they were doing. It was just not, I had put so much time and effort into this. I'll keep working on the skincare stuff from a distance. Y'all do what you're going to do, and they came up to the property, and there was some partners and staff still there. It was a disaster, and they didn't have a warrant. So everybody was lying to everybody, and it was this whole ordeal. But they did say we had the safest facility they'd ever rated, and all these things. And in the end, they had one of the agents get me on the phone, and he was like, hey, this isn't that big of a deal. You guys don't have any drugs or guns up here. He's like, there's not even a single dollar. He's like, I just need to talk to you because you're kind of in a dry county, and you're running extraction machines, with natural gas. And he's like, there's going to be some trouble. I'm sorry. You seem like a nice person, and I want you to talk to me. And I was like, hey, I've already hired an attorney. I can't talk to you, but I appreciate you for not being an asshole. He's like, I'm not going to arrest everybody here, but I'm probably going to take this one guy with me. And I was like, just so you know, he can sing as much as he wants, but we're all in this together. And, no offense, you know what I mean? And so in the end, they tried to scare me with a lot of stuff and kind of convinced me I was going to do 10 to 32 years in Colorado, where weed is very legal. And that was tough. For a little bit, I could not see the light at the end of the tunnel, which is not like me. And that was a tough one to get through. That was really tough to get through. And in the end, I did not have to do 10 to 32 years. I got some slaps on the hands. Some things happened, and I had to pay like a lot of money. Let's just say that I had to pay a lot of money. And here's what I can say. The reason it was so bad is because it was not in Denver County. I'll give you a very quick example. I know people who had 10 pounds of cocaine, 50 pounds of weed, an indoor grow, and 2 9mm. And when they got raided by Denver police, they left them a ticket on the door.
No way.
Yeah, and that's happened. And things close to that, or a little bit like probation and then a fine or a misdemeanor. Like, what happened was because of the area I was in. And everybody that was involved said the same thing. Dude, why couldn't we have just gotten this in Denver County?
Right.
So anyway, that was, really tough. We had invested millions. We lost millions. We made some money. We had this beautiful skincare line. We were in the midst of, getting, the manufacturing deal paid for, working through that. And I had put down a deposit on a commercial building next to a dispensary where I was going to fully have the legal gases and do it all. And I lost all that money too. We were in the middle of that. It's like, it was a lot. It was a lot that happened. We were trying to go fully commercial. And that's why I had left, been to the East Coast, started to get back into TV and music, like my own way with my own manager. And, it was really sad. The whole thing was really sad. So yeah, we lost a lot. We lost a lot of money. It was really sad. And in the end, the people blackmailing us didn't even get all the money they wanted because they caused us to get raided before we can even continue paying them. So I think that's hilarious, but karma is a bitch, so.
Karma is a bitch.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Girlfriend's
Oh, you're
talking to
good.
me going ape shit. But anyways, so you have this bit of distress that happens. I wouldn't even say a bit; it's a lot. That's a
Yeah.
lot. How do you move forward from that? When did you meet your husband?
Yeah. So what happened is after we finished all the stuff in Colorado, I was like, well, I know all about real estate and I know all about construction. I'm going to start a contracting company. So I did. And I went full force into it. One of our good friends from Atlanta, one of my mentors, flew out, stayed with us for a week, helped me get set up, just made sure everything was cool. Then my other mentor was out in Colorado and would fly in and out, Shane, and make sure I was okay and help me there because he has mega construction and roofing and real estate experience. And I hit the ground running. We had a cleaning team, for housing, residential, then for commercial. And then I would contract out new house builds or remodels to a couple contractors. And, I'd work pretty closely on that. And we did that, and that took off, and it provided me a decent amount of income. It was tough. I'm not going to lie. Like some customers lied. Some said this, some said that. One cleaner showed up high to somebody's house. I mean, shit. These are things that happen that people don't want to talk about, One time a cleaner just showed up at a house and the customer's like, I don't like the smell of cigarette smoke. And I can tell she smokes cigarettes. I want a different cleaner and she needs to leave my house immediately. Well, fuck. Okay. I mean, I get it. You can have that feeling, but just these are uncomfortable things that happen. And I had to learn. Right. And I had to deal with the internal struggle of, I used to write music. I used to live in LA. I used to walk to the Grove where Mario fucking Lopez does his show with my baby and eat a bagel with lox and then go write music in the Hollywood Hills that day. Okay. What the hell happened? Why do I, whatever? And I was like, Kaitlyn, you know what you had to do to even play play close to the people, in LA. Like, what it took, like, and you weren't even that famous. Like, do we have to go through this again? So it was this constant struggle, like I could go back. One thing I'll say, and I don't mean to say this like in any cocky way at all, because it took me years to realize this. I'm probably one of the best songwriters Hollywood had. I still have people who tell me that are in the industry. I am a phenomenal, brilliant songwriter. And the universe and God gave me a gift. They really did. And it is what it is, and so there would be times where I'd go back and be like, I am that good. I know I'm that good. My songs are that good. I'll get them pitched, I'll whatever. And then it'll be like, no, all the upkeep and all the things you have to do to like stay cool and be involved with them and stay in the eye and keep getting pitched and make sure you don't get shelved. Do you want to do all that? Do you want to do all that? Because all that gets you is some money, essentially, right? And
Absolutely.
then a lot of regret. And so it's like, I would continuously tell myself, okay, there's going to be ways to make money. There's ways to make money. There's ways to make money, right? Constantly having to do that. Then while I was running that company, I did some really in-depth spiritual soul searching and getting like certified with yoga and specializing in yoga nidra. That took me on a journey. Eventually, I applied to get my doctorate of naturopathy because I wanted to be a doctor of naturopathy. And whether I was going to have a practice or what I was going to do with that was not necessarily important. It was, this is just part of the journey, right? And so I was getting my doctorate, and eventually I stopped classes. I remember calling the university saying, listen, I just can't do this. My business is taking off. I have to do this. I have to have more than one stream of income. And so I quit getting my doctorate, but I kept involved in the yoga and the community I was involved in there, and being very deeply involved with some of the spiritual people in Colorado Springs. And eventually my good friend who I was involved with the skincare line, my friend of over 30 years, him and I were back together. And by the way, he's gay. Okay. So anyway, my best friend of many years, he's back in Colorado Springs working near me. And one day he is like, I love you, but you're going to have to find somebody eventually. You're going to have to, you got one kid, Kate, I'm proud of you. You aren't out here, whatever, but like, it's time to find somebody, So he created me a profile on Bumble. Yep. On Bumble in Colorado Springs near Fort Carson. And I met my husband off of Bumble. I was doing rental arbitrage, like the Airbnb thing. I had several units in Colorado Springs, and one wasn't being rented out. So I had a little kickback there and invited all my friends and some of their husbands or boyfriends. So it was a public affair, and, everybody was having a drink and a bite to eat. And he showed up, and it was like a safe ordeal. You know what I mean? There was a lot of people there, and we ended up having an amazing time. And we've been together since that day. I think it muted out.
Oh goodness. I keep hitting this button. Okay. anyways, that's amazing. And how long have you guys been together?
Oh shoot. Not quite, maybe 5 years, not quite 5 years. Not quite 5 years.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Pretty awesome. So you guys go to from Fort Carson to
Fort Jackson.
Fort Jackson.
Yep. We built a house here, a beautiful house here. Very grateful for it. And now we are headed to Costa Rica to live full time. Our house is just being finished over there, and we're just going to rent this one out. And we hold retreats over there and getaways for people and marketing experiences. And we're going to be diving into, we'll be having like a trauma healing one coming up, and then like a marriage or a couples retreat as well. It's especially guided for couples that work together. We'll have actual, licensed specialists here to help people and do sessions and enjoy themselves and look at themselves hopefully in a different light, and seeing like really what's going on here. There's just so many things when it comes to psychology and what we do and all the triggers that all humans have and how intricate they can be. So yeah, we're in the middle of that. We head out pretty soon. We've already started to clear the house out, and things are getting a little bit like empty. And I don't announce because, and I'll just say this, and no, I'm not that popular, but I have a couple weird people who stalk me on the internet. And so I do not announce when I'm actually leaving, but it's soon.
Touche, touche. I'm not going to ask when you're leaving.
Yeah, for sure. I'm like, I was about to say it, then I'm like, no, 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 because
Yeah,
who knows who's watching.
right, right. Okay, so working with a diverse group of people that you've worked with from Nashville to Hollywood to to working in Colorado to what you're doing now. What is one of the biggest lessons that you've learned about human nature?
People will take anything you'll give, and if you even like give a wince of evidence that you will give them what they want, like they'll take it and they'll keep going for it. And I'm the same. I'm human. Okay, I'm no better than anybody else. We're human. We're animals. However, we have a responsibility to try to not be reptiles. Okay, with that reptilian brain, like it's our responsibility to try to like be an elevated consciousness, there. And we do have the capability. We do. And so we just have to remember boundaries are a thing. We have to remember that a lot of times people anger us because we're triggered because of something within us. It's not them. And then there's other times where it is them. So I think that I've learned a lot about that. Yeah, it's been a journey.
Yeah, that's a pretty good observation. Okay, and before we go, what advice would you give to somebody that's starting up a small business or is looking for that next level of success? What would you give them?
Couple things. People will tell you who they are. You're just usually not listening. People are giving signs in everything they do. So you should listen more and talk less. Number two, not everybody cares about your dreams. A lot of people want to share their dreams. Just be careful who you share it with. I'm not saying don't put it on social media, but be careful who you talk to your goals and your dreams about. Okay. Because some people wish bad for you. And the next thing I would say is you don't need $1 million marketing plan or agency to go viral or be famous, okay, for your business. There's ways to do it. There are amazing marketing mentors and people out there like myself, Kaitlyn Lemus Portillo, my husband, Vicente Lemus Portillo, Leanne Heel, Rachel Peterson. Her programs start at a couple hundred to a few thousand. My low ticket starts at like $5,000. You don't have to go crazy in the beginning with your business to do that. You know what I mean? To be successful. A lot of people spend or get taken for tens of $1,000s in the beginning, and they're not even ready for those kind of services yet. So a lot of times you need a consultant first. All right. So that's my advice to people.
Awesome, awesome. And where can we find you?
You can find me on Facebook. My profile is verified. It's Kaitlyn Jane Lemus Portillo. You can also find me on TikTok, K Lemus, KL Portillo Scales Biz, BIZ. And then you can also find me on Instagram. I've got the blue check, so you know it's me, Kaitlyn Lemus Portillo, as well as our mastermind, Money Mindset Magic. We have an Instagram account that has a blue check, so you know it's ours. It's called Money Mindset Magic. And so you can find us all over there. My team is in all our inboxes. So you can check us out, watch our videos. I do live streams almost every week, and I usually bring a lot of value, and they're not really sales heavy. I truly believe that my programs are a little bit higher ticket for a reason, and because I want people to be ready and fully invested. And I haven't perfected my low ticket yet because I want to be able to provide something that isn't just fluff and just sell it to make money. It's just me. Like, and I'm not saying they're bad either. I haven't perfected one that I feel is worthy yet. So it's just a lot of deep things that we do. but yeah, it's a lot of live streaming about us bringing experts. Okay, so like tomorrow we bring in Essie Christensen. She's the owner and founder of 365 Solutions. She helps fix your credit or build the business credit and the different tiers off your EIN. So your LLC or your S corp or your C corp or whatever you have can have, it's OPM, other people's money, essentially what they call it, right? So we'll be bringing her tomorrow at 1 p.m. and you can find that event on my profile on Facebook, and you can join it. And there's going to be tomorrow we're going to do a deal. You can get a full-blown consultation with me that's a full hour long, and then we'll help you get your credit fixed. So it's a pretty cool deal tomorrow.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And Kaitlyn, I want to take a moment and say thank you for being a part of this show, and thank you for sharing your story.
Absolutely. Thank
You
you
know,
for having me.
the ups and the downs. Life can't always be good, and
No.
it's not always bad.
Yeah.
And you've persevered so much, and you've overcome so much. So I want to just say thank you again, and I appreciate your time and your energy.
Oh, right back at you. Thank you so much. And thank you again for your service to our country. We appreciate you so much.
Thank you, thank you. All right, everybody. Till next time. I hope you guys have a good day. Much love. Be good.
Bye.